Now to our top story this morning. As the dust settles after the elections here in South Africa, the political landscape continues to fracture. It continues to fragment and shape itself in unprecedented ways. The latest twist sees Floyd Shivambu, once deputy president of the EFF, and the Secretary General of MK, well, briefly, Secretary General of the MK, and now seemingly plotting his own political vehicle. What does this kind of churn say about our political maturity, party stability, and just general public trust? Is this democracy in action or simply a carousal of self-interest? And to help us unpack this, we're joined now by political analyst Dr. Levy Ndou. Mr. Ndou, thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure having you on Salam Media. Really appreciate you giving us your time. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Good morning to the listeners at home. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Pleasure's all ours. I think we can kickstart the conversation with your brief, quick analysis of Floyd Shivambu's shift from the EFF to MK, and now talks and plans for a new political party. What do you make of this?
We had to wait for quite some time to understand or to know the reasons why Floyd Shivambu has left the EFF. It appears as if, even though we're still going to wait for quite longer, the reasons for his departure are bit by bit coming out into the open. Floyd Shivambu has, on numerous occasions, defended the EFF whilst people were accusing the EFF of being a cult. And it is now the very same Floyd Shivambu who has come out very openly to say, in the EFF, you have got a cult, you have got one person who appears to be the decision maker on everything. And that tells you that he could not have been happy in the EFF for quite some time. And when wrong things were happening, he always wanted to grab an opportunity so that he could be of influence and also positioning himself to be the president one of the days. Unfortunately, that did not happen. But then, fast forward, Floyd Shivambu decides to join the MKP, where he was joining his long-time political enemy, Jacob Zuma. Floyd Shivambu and some of his comrades in the EFF are the ones who made Jacob Zuma's life very difficult whilst he was the president of the Republic. They will not allow him to speak. They would always make sure that he's not comfortable when he's appearing in parliament. And that is the very same Floyd Shivambu who goes and joins the MKP so that he runs the party and abandoning the party that he established. And based on the constitution that is written and adopted by the MKP with a huge influence of Floyd Shivambu, he therefore gets removed from his position. Some would say the reasons for his removal are not good enough. Some would say they waited for that opportunity to happen. But the fact of the matter is that with all the political history that Floyd Shivambu has, his political life has been wiped out because the MKP has removed him as the Secretary General of the party, and he is now an ordinary person or an ordinary member of the MKP.
I want to, keep that theme, the MK element of it, because I think that's when things started to get interesting when it comes to the political career of Floyd Shivambu. He claimed joining MK was the best decision of his life, but yet barely a year later, he's on his way out. Do you think this reflects a deeper crisis of ideology when he arrived in the MK, or is it just pure opportunism? There was seemingly no way for him to, in the near future, to be the leader of the EFF. The EFF People's Assembly just last year was clear. I think everyone knew who the winners were going to be, and who was going to make the executive of that party before even that conference happened. Do you think that there was that element of opportunism, and ultimately having him leave the EFF for the MK, where he got there, but the ideology and what he was met with when it comes to how the MK does things was totally not what he expected?
Now, well, I think it will be difficult to talk ideology at this point because these are the parties that were formed and on the backdrop of anger and being moved from one political party to the other. The EFF was formed because Mr. Malema was expelled from the ANC. The OMK party was also formed on the basis of the relationship that was happening between Jacob Zuma and the ANC, being spoken about being removed. The UDM was formed because Holomisa was expelled from the ANC. So we're talking about parties that are formed because of an expulsion. And obviously there's anger that is involved. But when the MKP was formed, you only got a sense that says that we want to fix South Africa, we don't want the ANC of Ramaphosa, which has nothing to do with an ideology, because it's the very same people who are coming from the ANC, who are leading the ANC, who did nothing to talk about or amending the ideologies in the ANC. So that is a matter that we need to put aside. But what has always been consistent is the manner in which these people have left their political parties, and what we always hear them talking about their own political parties. And if you check what is said in terms of the character of these parties and what they stand for, it's exactly what you get from where they're coming from. It is only about personalities and also wanting to get the attention of South Africans diverted to certain individuals and personalities. But my view also is that in terms of articulating party positions and trying to position the MKP to be a force to be reckoned with, is something that we need to acknowledge Shivambu's work, because the MKP started to take shape when Floyd Shivambu was there as an organizer and now as a Secretary General. So it is about having the ability to arrange the structures, the frame of the party, and not more of an ideology. It is also about leaders who could not get positions elsewhere, and they decide to form political parties because they know that positions will be guaranteed. But the unfortunate part is that with the MKP, no one is guaranteed a permanent position for now, except Mr. Jacob Zuma.
I want to talk about this this style in South African politics, what we have seemingly adopted as political parties where it's seemingly personal vehicles for individual leaders to make their points, to make their way to parliament. I mean, you named a few, and I'm just thinking of all these political parties that have been formed in recent years. The likes of Ahang with Mampele Rampele. You've had the likes of Build One South Africa with Musi Maimane. There was also Sara, the Sara Party, with the former speaker of the city of Johannesburg, Colleen Makubela. And you can name all of these political parties, which are individual and personality based, and ultimately give nothing, to South African politics except to have that one individual in parliament. And it seems like with Floyd Shivambu, we are going to the same route. He's going to get that 1 or 2 seats that he probably wants to go back to parliament. His party won't have any kind of impact, and we'll be finding ourselves again, with politicians and MPs that offer little to nothing to our political landscape. What do you make of this? Personality politics, and how they've become the new modus operandi for personalities, for individuals that have a point to prove or want to make their way back to parliament.
There is very little talk about policy directions and ideology in most political parties in South Africa. And most of these parties are not led by new people. They are led by people who have been in political parties, who have tested being a public representative, and they've taken this as a career. And what they do is that they can't live outside politics, and that's why they'll always find ways and means to maneuver so that at the end of the day, they get elected back into parliament. Some of these parties, as you mentioned, or individuals, if their parties cannot make it, they easily join other parties as long as a position is guaranteed for them. So it is about them and not the citizens. It's not about service delivery, but it is about getting a salary at the end of the day.
Very, very concerning state of affairs. But just looking at Floyd Shivambu, do you think the South African voting constituency, people that look at South African politics, look at individuals, and maybe analyze manifestos and ideology, do you think he will have any kind of impact? Do you think South Africa's political ground is fertile for another political party, this time led by Floyd Shivambu? Does he have a following?
There are many factors. There are many factors that Shivambu has to look at. The first factor is that South Africa is vast, and therefore he must be able to cover every part of South Africa, and that talks to financial resources. If he does not have a funder, then he must just go and create a loan elsewhere, because there should be a funding. A political party will require a lot of financial resources for all the activities of the political party to take place. He should also be able to come with a reliable, strong team that is going to be able to work with him, and this team should be found in every corner of the Republic. And lastly, he should be able to communicate the message that ordinary citizens will be able to associate with and end up trusting him with a vote. So he has got a very long journey to go, and that will require a lot of energy, it will require a lot of people, and it will also require a lot of focus.
Yeah, very, very important that you mentioned that. What do you think are some of the long-term dangers of what we're speaking about? This kind of churn of our democracy, especially when voters see leaders jump from party to party, with little ideological consistency, as you mentioned.
Is that each time he was speaking in the ANC, in the EFF, and the MKP, citizens were listening. And some of them still have all the things that he said whilst he's in those parties. And what could make or break him would be the level of consistency in whatever he says. If it's MKP and he says something that contradicts the MKP today, whilst he's in the new political party, that is how people are going to judge him. People know what has been his positions in the EFF. They'll still ask him some questions. If he's not consistent, that will have implications on his political career. So he needs to be very careful in what he says, because politicians are always judged on what they say and not necessarily on what they do.
Very, very powerful point there, Dr. Levy, Ndou, political analyst. I think we're going to leave it here for now. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure chatting to you.
You're always welcome. Thank you so much.
There you go. Yeah. You can interact with us. What do you make of these new developments? Floyd Shivambu set out to launch his own political party. If you follow him on X, you'd see that he's saying he's been talking to South Africans. He's been, going around crisscrossing the country and trying to get this perspective of you and I. I'm not sure if they've spoken to you yet, but I'm yet to get any kind of communication from Floyd Shivambu or his people to get my opinion about whether or not he should be opening another political party. But what do you think? Do you think South Africa has a place for another political party? Do you think the ground is fertile for another political party? We have the local government elections coming up in the next year. Everyone is gearing up for that, preparing for that. And are you looking at Floyd Shivambu as potentially someone that you could be voting for come the 2026 local government elections? Or you think he should, go back to the EFF? I see some comments saying exactly that on YouTube. Charles Mohariwa says South Africans are not stupid. He must go and do goat farming. Otherwise, humble himself and speak to CIC. CIC, I'm assuming, is Julius Malema. And this person is hoping that, or is advising Floyd Shivambu to, pride aside, swallow your pride, go back to the EFF and say, I am sorry. Shouldn't have left the party that I helped started. It was a moment of weakness for me. I felt like there was no future for me. Ultimately, there was no future for me to be the leader and the head of the economic freedom fighters. I felt disgruntled. I made my mistake. I'm a prodigal son and I've returned back home. What do you think? Do you share the same sentiment that Charles Mohariwa seems to be having? We'll continue reading your comments. Keep them coming on our various social media pages. You can also send us a voice note. Our WhatsApp line is 061 766 0355, or you can give us a call on 01168000355. Are you looking at Floyd Shivambu and thinking, should he start another political party? I'll be open to considering him as a leader of some sort, to play some role in South Africa's political landscape. Because I think we can disagree on a lot of things, but one thing that we can't disagree on is the fact that Floyd Shivambu has talent. We saw him during his time with the economic freedom fighters. We saw the impact that he had in our parliament. And, I honestly feel like that kind of talent should not go to waste. South Africa needs thinkers. It needs people that read and analyze and look at the state of affairs of our country. And he's one of those people, to be honest. He just made a few political blunders. No, Bisitole on YouTube says Floyd is taking South African politics by storm. The storm is coming. Maibuye Africa. Floyd Shivambu is coming. Do you agree? Do you think Floyd Shivambu is the next best thing in South African politics? Not under any of the traditional political parties, but himself as an individual, starting his own thing, leading it. Do you feel he has that kind of a following? Do people really look at Floyd Shivambu as a leader, or he's just one of those people that are always in the periphery? People that are always advising the leaders, being the voice of reason. I mean, that Floyd Shivambu and Julius Malema combination, I think it was one of the best that we've seen in South African politics. The way they would complement each other, at least at a surface level, because Floyd Shivambu did come out a lot of times during, after he left the EFF, and spoke about how he was seemingly not having the time of his life at the EFF. How he was not allowed to speak, to engage with the media, how Julius Malema wanted to be center stage, even in press conferences. The only time he would be allowed to speak would be if a journalist directed questions at Floyd, and otherwise, center stage, front row, everything, the face of the party, the voice of the party would always be Julius Malema. maybe it's time for Floyd Shivambu to pagama, as Nobisi Tole seems to be suggesting there. But again, you can engage with us on our various social media pages. You can send us a WhatsApp voice note. We'll play it on air. Our studio line is 011. This is where you can call us, 011-680-0355. On WhatsApp, we are 061-766-0355. You can send us a message. You can send us a voice note. You can tell us whether or not you are willing to vote for Floyd Shivambu, as he seems to draw up his own political party. He's putting it into place, and he might be a challenger to a lot of the political parties, some that he called a political home for the longest of times, ANC, EFF, and now recently MK. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, News and Views continues after this.